As a Black woman who attended an Ivy League, let me tell you why being humble will cost you everything. First, let me make it clear that humility is a fruit of the spirit, and I am aware of that. But I am noticing a pattern, and I'm realizing that a lot of us are confusing being humble with hiding. I think society teaches Black women how to shrink in order to survive rooms. And then being Nigerian on top of that, there are just certain things that are ingrained in our culture as women. From the time we're young, it's don't brag, don't boast, don't talk about yourself too much, don't tell people about your accomplishments. Just work hard and let the work speak for itself. And while these aren't inherently bad things, as I've gotten older, I've realized the degrees to which having that mentality and or approach, specifically in corporate, has done me a disservice. And I think specifically for Nigerian women, shame has made some of us confuse what is supposed to be being humble with hiding. And I internalized this so deeply that I didn't even realize how much the hiding myself was shaping my behavior until I got into environments that rewarded the exact opposite. And I really struggled with this in my first corporate job because it was there that I realized and had to come to terms with the fact that it wasn't the hardest worker that got the promotion. It wasn't the hardest worker that got the opportunity. It wasn't always the person who was staying late, doing excellent work quietly, and going home without speaking up. It was always the person who often went out of their way to clearly and confidently say, this is what I worked on with this project, this is how I improved this process, and this is the value that I bring to the team. And I think sometimes we think that it's other people's responsibility to see our greatness, but in adulthood, I've realized sometimes you have to tell people. You have to tell people, this is who I am, this is what I've done, and this is why you need to value me and my insight. And so I remember sitting in meetings in that initial job and feeling that internal tension because I was working hard, I was contributing, I was adding value. But the problem with that was I wasn't narrating it, because in my mind, narrating it felt like bragging, and I had equated visibility with arrogance. And like I said, this mentality and this approach followed me into so many different parts of my life, even down to the simple question of someone asking me, oh, where did you go to school? Rather than say, I went to the University of Pennsylvania confidently, and as a statement, because that is a fact, I would say, oh, I went to college in Philly. I soften it so it doesn't feel like I'm doing too much. And again, with me having all these realizations as I'm getting older, I had to ask myself, why am I managing their potential discomfort over something that's a fact and something that I worked incredibly hard for? Late nights, sacrifices every which way growing up. And yet while I was there and even after I left, I continued to minimize that accomplishment. Because when you don't want to seem prideful, you kind of start to edit yourself automatically because you start to anticipate how your success might land to other people. You start to soften your own story.